The United Kingdom has had a massive impact on the world, at one time having some form of sovereignty over 23% of the world's population. Today, however, the country is home to just 67 million people. And of those 67 million people, about 49 million, or 70% of its entire population, lives within the central part of England, leaving the vast majority of the country relatively empty. So why don't more British people live in Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, or Southwest England? Welcome to Geography by Geoff. Today we're off to the United Kingdom to explore its wild population distribution. Because while the country is technically made up of 4 separate kingdoms, the vast majority of its population lives within England, and more specifically, Central England. And this is largely to do with a complex and long history combined with some unique geographic features. Also, Christmas is right around the corner, and as such, we prepared a podcast episode all about one of the world's largest holidays. The geographic spread of Christmas has had impacts that go well beyond the religion we know today. You can listen to the episode by clicking this link or by checking out the description below. Like most countries in Europe, the United Kingdom has had a long and complicated history, far too complicated for any single video to cover, and far longer than the actual country we know today as the United Kingdom. The roots of what would become the United Kingdom can be traced back to the Roman conquest in the year 43. During this time, the Romans established significant infrastructure on the British Islands and established cities such as Londinium, leaving a lasting impact on the region. The Romans would occupy much of Great Britain for the next 360 years. Following the Roman withdrawal in the early 400s, England saw a period of Anglo-Saxon migration and settlement, which would eventually mesh with the native Celtic and Britons, laying the foundation for English identity. The formation of a unified England began under Alfred the Great in the late 800s, who repelled Viking invasions and began the consolidation of smaller Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. The subsequent period saw the growth of feudalism, the establishment of a centralized monarchy under the Normans following the 1066 invasion, and the development of a distinct English culture. Wales, a land with its own distinct Celtic culture and language, had always been a separate entity. The English conquest of Wales was gradual, starting with Norman incursions in the 11th century, but it was not until the 1200s that, under Edward I, Wales was formally annexed through a series of military campaigns and the construction of imposing castles. The Laws of Wales Acts of 1535 and 1542 integrated Wales into the English legal system, eroding its separated status. Meanwhile, in the north, Scotland maintained its own monarchs and a strong sense of national identity, and remained independent for much of this period. However, the relationship between England and Scotland was characterized by consistent wars, conflicts, and very occasional diplomacy. The pivotal moment that would eventually unite Scotland and England came in 1603, when James VI of Scotland also became James I of England, marking the union of the crowns. However, it wasn't until the Acts of Union in 1707 that England and Scotland formally united to form the Kingdom of Great Britain. Driven by political and economic factors, as well as competition from many European powers that were also beginning to unify. Northern Ireland's story is different and far more recent. Ireland as a whole had been gradually forced under English control starting in the 1100s, culminating in the full conquest and colonization in the 1600s. The largely Protestant Northern Ireland had closer ties to Britain than the predominantly Catholic South. When Ireland gained independence in 1922, as the Irish Free State, now known as the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland opted to remain part of the United Kingdom, a decision that has led to ongoing cultural and political tensions, as well as outright conflicts, more commonly known as the Troubles, lasting from the late 1960s to 1998. The United Kingdom is a very complicated country with a long and fascinating history that helps explain its wild population distribution. But while history has its place in this story, the country's geography also has its place. But before we explore the physical geography of the United Kingdom, if you're enjoying this video, hit that subscribe button. More fun geography videos are just a single click away. The physical geography of the United Kingdom is quite different from much of its neighbors, in large part because it's a series of islands off the coast of Europe. This geographic diversity is spread across the regions now known as England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, each of which contributes unique natural features to the UK. The physical landscape ranges from the low hills and plains of the south and east, marked by the iconic white chalk cliffs of the southern coast, to the rugged terrain of northern England, with its notable upland ranges like the Pennines and the Lake District. These northern areas are characterized by stunning lakes and surprisingly high peaks, offering a stark contrast to the more gentle topography of the south. Mountainous regions are also a prominent feature, with Snowdonia in the north and Brecon Beacons in the south, and the Scottish Highlands, home to Britain's highest peak, Ben Nevis. These areas are known for their dramatic scenery, including deep glacial valleys and picturesque lochs. The coastline of the UK is equally diverse, ranging from the rugged and scenic cliffs in Wales, particularly in areas like Pembrokeshire and Gower Peninsula, to the indented shores of Scotland with its numerous lochs and islands, including the Hebrides, Orkney, and Shetland Islands. The Antrim Plateau in Northern Ireland, with its unique basalt columns at the Giant's Causeway, adds to the UK's coastal diversity. The UK is also home to significant rivers and lakes, with the River Thames flowing through the southeast of England and the River Severn running through Wales into England. Lough Neagh in Northern Ireland is the largest lake in the British Isles, playing a crucial role as a natural reservoir. All of this unique geography combines to create the unique conditions which give reasons as to why so many people within the United Kingdom live in the central part of England, leaving Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and southwest England with relatively very few people. Today, about 75% of all British, or about 49 million people, live on just 30% of the entire landmass of the United Kingdom. This has left large areas of the country feeling relatively empty. But what's especially odd about this is that the vast majority of these people live within England, meaning the power imbalance between the United Kingdoms is more noticeable than ever. To help explain this population discrepancy, we have to first go back to the 1800s when the world was about to undergo a massive shift. Industrialization in the 1800s played a pivotal role in shaping the United Kingdom we know today. The Midlands region of England, rich in coal and iron ore, emerged as the epicenter of the Industrial Revolution. Cities like Birmingham, Manchester, and Liverpool became hubs for industries such as textiles, coal mining, and shipbuilding. This industrial boom attracted a large workforce, leading to rapid urbanization, making the entire region of the Midlands one of the most densely populated regions in the UK. Much of this due to people moving from rural, agrarian areas of England, Wales, Ireland, and Scotland to these cities in search of jobs. In contrast, regions like Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and southwest England did not experience industrialization to the same extent. Scotland and Wales, while having some industrial areas such as Glasgow and Swansea, never truly picked up the same industrial momentum that cities like Manchester and Birmingham did. Meanwhile, Ireland's development was hindered first by intentional efforts by the English monarchy and later by political and sectarian conflicts, particularly in the 1980s and 1990s, affecting its economic growth and attractiveness for people. It also must be noted that Ireland's population as a whole was greatly affected by the potato blight, which began the Great Famine of Ireland in the mid-1800s. Ireland's total population today, including both Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, is still not as high as it was prior to the Great Famine. Finally, London's role as the capital city and a global financial hub has also significantly influenced the UK's population distribution. As the political, cultural, and economic heart of the country, London has historically attracted people from across the UK and around the world. Its status as a global city has led to a concentration of jobs, wealth, and opportunities, drawing a significant portion of the population to the southeast of England. This has further exacerbated the population disparities between London and the more remote and less industrialized regions of the UK. Today, the largest metropolitan regions in the United Kingdom would be London with a gargantuan 14 million people. London, by itself, makes up over 20% of the country's entire population. This would be followed by Manchester with 2.8 million people, Birmingham with 2.7 million, and Leeds with 1.9 million. All four of these metro areas are firmly within this central part of England. Meanwhile, the largest metro regions in Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, and southwest England are Glasgow with 1.7 million people, Edinburgh with 900,000, Belfast with 671,000, Cardiff with 1.1 million, Swansea with 462,000, and Plymouth with 294,000 people. But while we've talked quite a bit about the history and geography of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, there's one place that is kind of part of the United Kingdom and kind of not. I'm, of course, talking about the Isle of Man. The Isle of Man, though closely linked to the United Kingdom, holds a unique position that sets it apart from the typical administrative and political structures of the UK. Historically, the Isle of Man was a territory that saw various rulers, from Norse Vikings to Scottish and English monarchs. In 1765, control of the island was passed to the British Crown under the Revestment Act, but it did not become part of the United Kingdom. Instead, it became a Crown dependency, which means that while the UK is responsible for its defense and international representation, the Isle of Man maintains autonomy in its internal affairs. The Isle of Man has its own independent parliament, the Tynwald, which is one of the oldest continuous parliamentary bodies in the world. This body governs the island's domestic matters, including taxation, social services, and education. The island's laws and policies can differ significantly from those in the UK, reflecting its self-governing status. Despite this independence, however, economically and socially, the Isle of Man is closely tied to the UK. The British pound is generally accepted as the island's currency, and it often mirrors UK legislation in areas like healthcare and education to maintain consistency and standards. That said, the Isle of Man has its own tax system and issues its own banknotes and coins. The Manx pound is a currency that is legal tender on the island and tied to the British pound. And unlike the Northern Irish and Scottish pound notes, given its autonomy, the Manx pound is not required to secure its currency with the Bank of England, meaning the Isle of Man can print as many notes as it needs. This, however, also means that the Manx pound is not legal currency in the United Kingdom. Regarding citizenship, the people of the Isle of Man are British citizens, but the island was never part of the European Union, unlike the United Kingdom. This unique position allows the Isle of Man to negotiate its own trade agreements with Europe and other countries and have different customs and immigration policies from the UK. The reason the Isle of Man is often considered part of the UK is largely due to its geographic proximity, historic ties, and the fact that it shares the British monarch as its head of state. However, being a self-governing crown dependency with its own distinct legal and administrative systems, the Isle of Man is significantly different from other regions of the UK, such as England, Scotland, Wales, or Northern Ireland. The UK's population distribution can largely be attributed to historic migrations, conquests and invasions, a unique physical geography that bore out a lot of natural resources, and an era that saw London become the capital of the world. Because of these four things, the vast majority of the UK's population lives within central England, leaving the rest of the country relatively empty. I hope you enjoyed learning more about the United Kingdom. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. If you want to listen to the podcast, click here. If you want to watch more videos, click here. Thanks for watching. See you next time.